first feed Sahiba. And then it will be Sahiba's turn to feed you.
Let it be, Aunt. That is not required.
Sahiba, it's your turn for the ritual.
Of course, Mom. It is my turn.
No, I'll help my...
Hey, was that spicy?
Didn't I tell you everything will be fine, my dear? They just needed to understand each other. Once they grow closer, everything will be fine.
If Angad sees me, he will start questioning me. Where did I escape and with whom and why did I escape?
Hey, want to watch this in your own language subtitle? It's super easy. Just click the CC button. If you're on your phone, tap the CC button above. If you're watching on a TV or laptop, click the CC button below. Choose your language, English, Arabic, French, Spanish, German, and many more. And enjoy the series your way.
You are not even able to stand straight. Let me help you. I will...
Not required. Son-in-law. Shall I help you? Come, my dear. No. Come on, try one more time. Slowly. Okay. No. No.
Dad, leave him. I'll do it. You'll feel better only if you lie on your back. Come on. Come on.
Carefully, dear.
Carefully. He's such a weird guy. He's smiling even in pain. Why are you laughing? Can't you lie straight?
Don't touch me there.
Why?
Because I'm ticklish.
What? You ticklish? Sorry.
Brother-in-law, put on this ice pack. It'll help you recover.
Give it here. Your pain will increase if you do such things. See? Move.
Hey?
Also, don't you dare move anymore. standing here? I told you to phone Dr. Sood so long. Go!
Sister, I was going to call him, but brother-in-law told me not to.
Did I tell you to get his permission? No, right? Call up the doctor.
It's really not required. Applying an ice pack is enough to recover. It's not a serious injury.
As if you know very well. You never obey or listen to anyone. Why don't you declare yourself as a god?
What nonsense are you saying?
What you're saying is not intellectual. It's not a severe injury. As if you know it. Are you a doctor?
It's me who is injured. I need not be a doctor to know if my injury is severe or not. It's common sense, you know. Also, I trust my own common sense better than your fake doctor.
Brother-in-law, Dr. Sood is a good doctor, not a fake doctor.
Leave it, Kirat. It's useless telling him. According to him, our whole family is a fraud, and the doctors we call are fake. You should go home, as that is what is better. You'll get rest there.
Son-in-law, here you go. This is mustard oil with turmeric in it. Apply this. Once you apply it, you will recover in no time. You'll see, my dear. You'll recover and get up. This is the first time you're visiting our house. But this happened to you. I think my bad fate is affecting everyone in this house. When I try to resolve a problem, it only gets so much worse. I'm very sorry to say this, but this is your mistake too. Sorry. You shouldn't have lifted a heavy item all of a sudden, my dear. You are not used to doing any work. I mean, at your house, you have servants for bringing you even water. All of a sudden, you've lifted heavy things, so an injury is obvious, don't you think? You apply this. Is the pain severe?
All of you, please leave me alone for some time. I need some time to rest. Should I send you the request via email? Oh.
I just have no clue how she's controlling my son, Angad, right now. I fear that the Mongols have hoodwinked him.
Manveer, Angad is not a kid. Also, he is not at all a fool. He already suffered a lot. So he will be very careful from now.
But how will he adjust with those poor people over there? How will he do it? My son, he's never been to Shimlapuri before. How will he stay there? How could he do that? There's no guarantee that he will be comfortable there. I'm just so concerned about him.
What are you waiting for? Go and call him up. You need to talk to him immediately. That will help the both of us feel extremely relieved.
Yes.
If he stays here, he will suffer all night in pain. At his house, he can get some rest in his room.
He's not answering the phone.
Okay, maybe you should try calling him again.
Angad, where are you? And why didn't you call after you got there? Are you okay?
Miss Manveer? It's me calling. Sahiba.
You? How dare you answer my son's phone like this? Where is my Angad? Give him the phone right away.
Ma'am, he just fell asleep. So he's sleeping.
How dare you manipulate the situation and answer his phone?
You're misunderstanding me.
How dare you teach me what is right and wrong? Give the phone to my son immediately.
Do you want me to wake him up? Sorry, ma'am, that's just not right. He struggled to fall asleep. He got injured, so I just...
What? Angad got injured, but... Mother, Angad got injured. How did he get injured then? Is my son all right? Tell me now, girl. It's not an accident, and it's not... I'm sure that it's a conspiracy by those crafty people.
Manveer, please explain everything. Did Angad get injured? What did Sahiba say?
She said that Angad is injured, and I just don't trust her right now. I don't trust those cheaters either. I have no clue what my son's condition might be right now.
Manveer, please calm down.
No, I can't leave my son alone in that place. I'll go there and I'll bring him home.
Enough of all of this. Sister-in-law, you give the order. I'll teach those mongers a lesson. I promise nothing will happen to Angad. I'll also come with you.
Sugdev! Tell the driver to get the car ready!
I'll be back.
I wonder, what will she do after reaching there?
What is this?
A net to catch the crocodiles.
What do you mean?
Oh my goodness. It's just a mosquito net, nothing else. Haven't you ever seen this before? You've never seen a mosquito net before? If you've never seen a mosquito net before, then what's the use of being wealthy?
How is that connected to a mosquito net?
Why? Do the mosquitoes not bite the wealthy?
Remove this. I can't sleep in this jail.
This net, which looks like a jail to you, will save you from a serious problem. Be warned, the mosquitoes will bite you severely and make you suffer. You don't know these mosquitoes. They belong to Shimla Puri. They are very big. Sometimes I feel like they come from a wrestling ring.
Remove it. I'm feeling suffocated. Do you want me to die of suffocation?
Why didn't you tell me earlier? All my hard work is going to waste. Do you know how much effort this took?
I don't care about how you set it up. Did you ask me before fitting it?
I'm removing it, brother-in-law. Why rebuke me? But don't blame me if the mosquitoes bite you. Because I did my job with dedication and honesty. If you complain to my parents about me, I'll release the mosquitoes that I'm raising. And I'll set them on you. Do you understand, brother-in-law?
This family is weird. They don't miss any chance to annoy me. My shirt got wet because of the ice pack. I need to change. Oh gosh.
Go away.
What?
Oh no, I'm not telling you. It's these mosquitoes. Shoo. How dare you just stop. If you bite my son-in-law even for once, I'll teach you a lesson. Santosh will teach you a lesson. Move. Shoo. Here you go. Mosquitoes hate us. If you apply this, the mosquitoes around you will go away immediately. So quickly. You are coughing, my dear. But why? Oh. You are coughing because of the smoke. You are unable to tolerate the smoke? Oh, son-in-law, Kirat said that you were feeling suffocated inside the mosquito net and said the mosquitoes were biting you. That's why I brought this. Hold on. I will, keep this here. Now, the smoke won't affect you at all, and all the mosquitoes will die. Now you sleep peacefully, dear, okay? Just sleep peacefully.
It's tough to relax in this house. One puts up a mosquito net and you talk to them with smoke.
I'm so very sorry, my dear. I'll send Cyber for you.
That's just exchanging one headache for another. She's the reason I've lost all the peace in my life, and she wants to send her to help me rest? Ridiculous. I can't take any more of this. I've had enough.
Fresh air outside for a while. The smoke will be gone when you get back. Come on. Don't worry. I won't tickle you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This wouldn't have happened if you'd just listened to me. Who do you think you are, a bodybuilder? You said you go to gym. You said that you work out. As if that helped. I told you not to do it. I told you that you would injure your back. But you're as stubborn as a mule, Angad.
Can't you shut up for a while? You have been talking non-stop. Saying that I didn't listen to you, that I shouldn't have done it, that you'd warned me. Well, I'm injured. What now? Are you happy? Shut up for some time and leave me alone, please. Hey! What are you doing? Don't even think about it. I won't let you apply it to me. I know what you're up to and why. Stay away from me.
Sir, please let me apply the lotion, or I'll face heavy losses here.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, you see, I've spent a lot of money and did a lot of planning just to bother you. I made you get a sprain and brought the pain upon you. Then I imported mosquitoes from out of India to let loose in your room. I did all of that to use this expensive ointment. So please don't ruin my plans by refusing like this, sir.
I'll apply it myself. You need not bother here at all.
Give it. Give it! You've already hurt your back. You'll hurt your hips too, so give it to me. Come. Let me tell you, I'm not interested in doing all this. But you're in our house now. You see, you're our guest. And we take good care of our guests. Anyway, after running home tomorrow, you'll go to your mom and tell her, Mom, Cyber troubled me a lot. I sprained my back, and she didn't even apply ointment to me. So stop acting like a child and get the ointment applied already.
A child? No thanks, Auntie.
Auntie.
If I'm a child, then you must be an auntie.
Apply it yourself. Mark my words. If you don't let me help you, the pain will just get worse. Don't say that I didn't warn you.
Sister-in-law, this is Shimla Puri. The car can't go any further than this. Do you know where the house is? How would you know? I'm so stupid. Sister-in-law.
Excuse me. Do you know where Ajit Munga's house is?
I don't. There.
Excuse me? Excuse me, I'm talking to you.
Excuse me. Hello?
Do you know where Ajit and Santosh Munga's house is?
Sister-in-law, how would she know? She looks like a beggar.
Hansraj, I am very angry right now, and I wouldn't want to have to take it out on you. You seem to live around here. So do you know where they live? Their daughter, she has an art shop as well, so do you?
Cyber? Cyber.
Yes, and she got married recently. Do you know any of them?
Loving the drama so far? Don't miss the next twist. Hit that subscribe button now for more English-dubbed twists, turns, and unforgettable moments every single week. Real drama, real emotions, all in English.
Apply it yourself. But I am warning you. If you don't let me help you, then your pain will increase. Don't complain later that I didn't tell you.
Sister-in-law, she wouldn't know. She is showing this way.
Give her some money. Here, keep this money. Thank you.
Go meet your daughter-in-law. Now nobody has any problem with us being poor. Has the Brar family really accepted Cyber? Cyber, I had to become a waiter because of you. And today, I'm a beggar. I want to avenge my humiliation. Once I get a chance to come inside my house, then it's either you or me.
Why did you hold my hand? Do you want me to apply this ointment for you?
Of course. Why else would I hold your hand?
Angad, don't you dare give me this kind of attitude! I will have my self-respect with me. Apply it yourself.
It's a request. In fact, I want to make 2 requests. First, please apply this ointment on me. Second, keep quiet while applying the ointment on me.
किस्मत मेरी सोनिया दिल दा है वरांदा खाली तेरे मेरी डोरिया मेरी डोरिया
Earlier, you were so eager to apply the ointment on me. Why aren't you applying it? What are you waiting for? Are you applying the ointment or torturing me? Apply it carefully.
Why are you overreacting? Did you get hurt for the first time?
Remember my second request. You have to keep quiet.
Angad? Oh, goodness! Sahiba, apply the ointment with love. I mean, what are you doing? Apply it properly. Here you go, Angad. I have added hot milk with turmeric for you. You will soon feel better as soon as you drink it. And you won't be able to lift your hand, so I have brought a pipe.
A pipe?
Yes, dear. You put it in the glass and you drink it just like that. It's hot, but you will feel better.
This seems to be the house. Angad?
Mother, you... here?
Sister-in-law, what's happening here? Angad couldn't stand her, and today he takes a massage from her? Didn't I tell you? Sahiba has manipulated and controlled Angad, and here is the proof.
What is going on here, Angad? Will you explain?
Miss Manveer, please take a seat.
Am I talking to you?
Was I even speaking to you before? I prohibited you. I said that if you come here, she would try to get close to you. Don't you see it? Didn't she do that?
And she succeeded in her efforts.
If we hadn't have come here, I wonder what she would have done. Nobody is here to even stop her.
Please sit down. And before saying anything, please hear me out here. You are misunderstanding, and it will never happen. Angad sprained his back. He couldn't apply the ointment, so he told me to do it.
Be quiet! You stay away from my son. Understood? Stay away from my son. Tell me, where is the injury?
Mother, I've applied the ointment. I'm better.
I already knew all of this. That you would come here and a mishap would occur. They will try to hurt you again. But still you came here. Don't you see the consequences?
No, Miss Manveer. There's nothing as such. This is... You have come to our house. I don't believe this. First Angad came here and now it's you. Thank you, Almighty. I got to witness this. Just a minute. Miss Manveer, please sit here. Please, like this. Please sit down, please. I have just... Kirat? Oh, where did she go? Please sit. I'll fetch water for you. Have some water. Here.
You won't let go of your pretense, will you? None of you get tired of all of this, right? We don't want to see your face. And you don't even believe that we're here, right? And you shouldn't believe it either. I was helpless before, so I came here also...
Mother, please.
Don't you say another word. You have seen the consequences, haven't you? Don't you understand why I stopped you from coming here?
Mother, please hear me out here. Whatever happened with me was an accident. They are not to be blamed.
You still could not understand them. What you consider to be, well, an accident is their conspiracy. They are all frauds.
What are you trying to say? Did we do all of this on purpose? Did we push your son?
Yes. Yes, you have. You hurt my son on purpose. I know you did.
Miss Manveer, just because you're older doesn't mean you can be disrespectful. You better watch your tongue. Anyway, one sees the world as who one is.
You know what? I've been with many girls, but none were like you. You're different. Those intoxicating eyes of yours. Sorry.
Why isn't Gary answering my call? He's disconnecting my call. I want him to talk to me and listen to me and say something. What's wrong with him?
Excuse me? I'm in the middle of a meeting. Call me later.
What happened? Was it the office?
Oh, yes. But my work can't be more important than you. So what was I saying? Oh, those intoxicating eyes of yours. I just wanna drown in your eyes.
Just go ahead. Who is stopping you?
the guest house at your behest. And you don't care to ask as to how I'm doing and what condition I'm in. You didn't even ask me once as to if I'm fine or not. How can you do this to me?
At least we don't ask the security guard to oust little kids who come home the way you did, because we know the proper etiquette to respect our guests, even if there are uninvited guests.
Sir, come on now.
Why are you letting him go? That's Kirat, Sahiba's younger sister.
Both of your sisters are insolent, but you are clearly much worse. I will deal with you.
Mother, let it be. Let it be, please. Why make a big issue? Just let it be.
Are you taking their side? They hurt you before, you know it.
Ma'am, you are having a misconception here. If you need it, you can always ask your son. He'll tell you what happened. But he's just too arrogant. He may say nothing. Let me tell you, though I told him not to, he lifted very heavy items and sprained his back. He is in this state because he didn't listen to me.
Oh, gee. Look at her. He didn't listen to me. Did you hear that, sister-in-law? Now Angad must listen to her? Angad was fortunate. In fact, we are fortunate that we are still alive here. Can you believe it? I mean, look at this house. It seems like the roof may fall down at the very slightest bit of turbulence. Goodness, save us. I think we shouldn't stay here much longer. Come, let's go. Sister-in-law, Angad, please.
Well, our house here may be old, but it is quite strong, just like our courage. But don't be afraid. I agree that son-in-law got hurt. I'm extremely sorry about it. It shouldn't have happened at all. Henceforth, we will take good care of him. Due to this mishap happening,
Mishap? This is not a mishap. It is a well-planned conspiracy by you all. You have shattered our trust once and betrayed us before. What do you think? Will you keep fooling us? This is your misconception. This is all your master plan. You get this straight right now. If any harm befalls Angad, then I will not spare you or your family. Firstly, you mentally tortured my son, and now you want to physically hurt him too?
Mother! Mother, please calm down. I've been telling you, you aren't listening to me. Sahiba is not lying.
What do you mean?
Sahiba has told many lies before, but this time she really is telling the truth.
Did you hear that? Your son stayed for a day at his in-laws' place. He has become so close to them that he's ready to take the blame for their mistakes. He is an ideal son-in-law.
I'm not taking the blame for anyone's mistake. I'm just telling the truth. Mother, I hope you'd understand what I'm saying and side with me.
No, I won't. I don't understand how my own son can do this to me. Firstly, you went against my wishes and came here. And now you're taking their side and supporting them? How do I make sense of this?
Mother, I just tried
They tried to hurt you and now you're saving them. What is wrong with you? Are you listening to yourself?
Mother, please calm down first. Okay, tell me, how did you find out that I got hurt? I didn't tell you that.
I told her. listen to me and you didn't go home. You didn't let us call the doctor either. Your mother had called you up. So I thought she must know about your condition. Please, take Angad home now. Get him examined by a doctor of his choice, because whether he agrees or not, it's necessary to get him examined by a doctor. He can only rest in his room in this state, not here. Because unless he goes from here, neither will you be at peace, nor will he rest. Moreover, you'll make false accusations about me. And most importantly, I don't want the roof to fall down on anyone and harm them.
Come on, Angad. Enough of their drama. Let's go home.
Miss Manveer. Look, it's not right for son-in-law to go out in the state. Don't worry. We are all here to watch him. We will all take such good care of him. I'll tend to him tonight. I won't let him face any issues. And I'll make sure he's very comfortable. Please don't let him leave his in-laws' place at midnight.
How can you even say this? You've taken such good care of him all day that he went and sprained his back. So now what? Should I make him stay all night? Then he can sustain a head injury? You've done us so many favors already. Please, don't do any more favors for us. We have wasted enough time. Let's go, Angad. Come.
Mother, please. Listen to me now. I can't go anywhere right now. I'll stay till morning.
What did you just say?
Yes, Mother, I'll stay here till morning.
I'm asking you for the last time. Will you come home with me or not?
No, Mother, I'm not coming with you now. You go home and get some rest. Your health doesn't seem all right, so take some rest.
She is bound to fall sick. She is starving since this morning. She is stubborn. She vowed to not even drink water until you return to the family home.
No need to tell him anything anymore. If he has decided, then let him stay. Clearly, he's made his choice. But I will not stay here any longer. Every minute spent here is like punishment to me. Come on, then.
Mother,
I'm good. Let me go.
Mother,
let
please,
me go right now.
listen to me.
Let me go. Do you want to
I'm
stay
trying
here
to
or
tell you that I will come home with you.
No, my dear. You clearly liked their hospitality. So stay here. You have fun. Have some rest. You don't need to think about me or get worried or anything.
To heck with everything. Only you are important to me. I can't bear to see you in pain and shed tears like this. I just can't. And I can't be the cause for you to be so distressed, Mother. I will come along.
My dear, you should go with son-in-law. Please go, please.
No, Mom. Angad is supporting his family. Why should I abandon mine? I came here to stay tonight. I'll stay here with you all.
Loving the drama so far? Don't miss the next twist. Hit that subscribe button now for more English-dubbed twists, turns, and unforgettable moments every single week. Real drama, real emotions, all in English.
Oh no, why did it have to start raining now?
Hey, you can't stand around here. Go on, get lost.
Hey, behave yourself. Huh? Do you own this place? Honestly.
Yes, I do. Do you have a problem?
Look, don't talk nonsense to me.
Did you run away from somewhere? Listen, don't talk too much, or I will slap you. This place is definitely not for people like you. This place is for people like us. So go get lost, huh? What are you staring at? I'm not scared of you.
Hey, my bag! Thief! He's taken my bag! Thief! Someone stop him!
It was their post-wedding ritual, and Angad came here for the very first time. He got hurt, and he had to go back in that condition at this hour, in so much pain. If only Miss Manveer would give him permission to stay here tonight, he'd be better by tomorrow morning, don't you think, dear?
Angad came here with Sahiba. That's what matters the most. Not only that, he behaved so courteously with all of us. He was respectful. He ate a meal with us and even praised the food. And then Miss Manveer arrived, and she tried to malign Sahiba and make all sorts of insinuations. Angad actually stopped his mother and he told her the truth. And most importantly, Angad really wanted to stay here. He really wanted to. Had Miss Manveer not vowed to stop having food and water, then maybe he'd stayed back tonight. I'm really so happy to see his values. He respects his mother so much. My dear, the Almighty is kind to have blessed you with a partner like Angad. Don't feel bad about the fact that Angad had to leave. Instead, we should be happy about the fact that he had a good time while he was here with us. And listen, Sahiba, in the times to come, your married life with Angad will definitely improve. You'll be very happy together. You'll see. So Sahiba did stay back after all. I'm pretty sure she stayed back so that she could meet Zirat.
What is this? Disgusting. My bag. I'm left with nothing now. Even my bag is stolen.
I'm sorry, Miss Santosh, but business is business. I just came here today to remind you that you must pay the installments on the date that we mutually agreed upon. If I don't receive an installment on time, you might have to bid goodbye to your home.
I made such a terrible mistake. What do? I can't tell Sahiba. If I tell anyone about this, then all of this happened because of that Don Sirat.
Mom is not happy about Sahiba's arrival. And why would she be? She must have found out about what Sahiba did to me. Moreover, Mom loves me more than anyone else in the world. She must be crying because she misses me. Who threw out all my belongings into the trash?
Your sister wants to gain a foothold in the family. She's making everyone hate you.
Sahiba.
Doshi. Why aren't you asleep?
My sleep has left me. I don't understand whatever is happening with us right now. Why is all of this happening to us? I agree that the things I did were wrong. And I really loved Sirat a bit too much. Whatever I did for her, I swear I did everything very sincerely. I truly believed that Sirat was the key to changing our luck. But she turned out to jinx our family's happiness. I thought she would make our luck shine, but she turned out to be an eclipse. She overshadowed and engulfed the very few bright rays of joy that our family had. I pray to the good gracious Almighty that He may never even give such a child to my enemies. It's better to be childless than have a child like this.
Stop it now, Doshi. What's done is done. You should stop blaming yourself for everything. You are torturing yourself. You neither eat properly nor sleep well. Sirat is too selfish to be affected by all of these things. Did she ever look back at us? Did she stop to think before taking such a big step? Has she ever called to find out if we are still alive or if we have died of shame? Heavens forbid. If she ever comes back to our house, then I'll make sure of it. That she is thrown out of here. She's as good as dead to me.
Sahiba has not only turned the Brats, but even my own parents against me. Sahiba never considered me her sister. She's always been jealous of me since we were kids. What she did was wrong. There's really no point in talking to Mom and Dad. They won't listen to a word I say.
I'm so glad you're here. But it also makes me sad to think that tomorrow you have to go back to a family where no one respects you at all. Everyone treats you like the enemy, while I have to go back, Kirat. But don't worry, I'll handle it.
Sahiba! Sahiba, come outside! Where are you hiding?
Sister Sirat? Sister Sirat? You here? When did you come? You knew everyone was so worried about you. What have you made of yourself? Aunt, please, just bring us a glass of water.
Yes.
Not just by her actions, but even her face has been tainted.
Where have you been for all of these days? What happened? What have you made of yourself, girl?
Why are you quiet? Answer me. Where were you? Why did you run away from your marriage? Speak up, Sister Sirat. And who did you elope with? Sister, speak up!
Firstly, mind your tone while talking to me. You took advantage of my absence and snatched my place. You got married to Angad. You were always pretentious and thought that you were better than everyone, but no. Even you turned out to be greedy, right?
Sister, mind your words. I didn't get married by my wish. If Shameless had an appearance, I'm sure it would look exactly like her. You have created such a mess, and you're blaming Sister Sahiba for it. Have you lost the little bit of intellect that you had left?
Kirat, be quiet. I'm not talking to you.
I didn't want to talk to you either. You eloped, didn't you? Why are you back now? Just go.
Don't act smart. You know nothing about your sister Sahiba's deeds yet.
And you have no idea what all of us have been through, Sirat. You will need some time to understand whatever happened ever since you left. But why did you do this? Tell me! Why did you abscond in between your wedding?
I know very well what I did. I know everything. I even know what you did. I've never come across a cunning girl and an opportunist like you. You took advantage so well. You got settled into Brar Mansion once you got a chance, and permanently. You secretly took my place as a bride.
I'm unlike you, who would hide things. I never did anything secretly. I got married for Mom and Dad's dignity only, Sirat. I got married for getting my own dreams, my hopes, and my career. So that Mom and Dad don't get into trouble. So that they don't have to tolerate everyone's taunts. I got married against my wish for the sake of our family. And that too. To the one who I hate the most in this world. I'd never want to talk to Angad. I always ran away from him. But I had to marry Angad. I have to spend my life with him now just because of you. All because of you.
Of course. Because of me. You're living a luxurious life in Brar Mansion. You're fulfilling your desires and living lavishly.
I didn't get any luxury there. I've only been insulted.
Really? You're tolerating a lot because of me. What did you just say? That you got married to save mom and dad from getting ashamed? Or you had a wish to be a daughter-in-law of a rich family? Of course. That's what it is. You always wanted this. No wonder you grabbed the opportunity that you got. Is a lucky draw for you without even buying the ticket. But you're enjoying his wealth completely. You should be grateful to me because I had purchased the ticket. I worked hard for it. And you took away everything. You snatched away everything that I was supposed to get. You snatched my destiny from me.
You took my life away from me, Sirat. You have such a cheap mentality. Blaming me for your fault is of no good. Whatever you did cannot be changed. Accept your fault at least. If you didn't want to get married, why didn't you tell any one of us? Who did you elope with? Tell us, who was he?
Look at her. How dare she have the audacity to question me like this? What do you think? You'll barge into Brar family and snatch my place? Huh? What were you saying? That you had to tolerate humiliation there? You got insulted there? Really? Look at you. People who have tolerated humiliation wouldn't look so casual. Just look at yourself. Just look at the glow on your face. It was glowing the same way the other day. I had seen you when you were getting yourself photographed with Angad, isn't it? You were smiling a lot. I know everything. I had seen you. That pride as the daughter-in-law and that ego was quite evident on your face. You were dancing with Angad by sticking to him and never leaving his side.
How do you know about it? Where did you see it?
I watched it on television. Where else would I watch it? TV channels broadcasted that same news all day. You snatched my dreams. You took away everything. You must be enjoying it, right? But get one thing very clear, Sahiba. Those who dig graves for others fall into it themselves. I'm telling you, the Brars will surely know your truth someday. What was Angad saying at the reception? That he was supposed to get married to someone else, but it didn't happen that way. So he started hating me in just 2 days. You poisoned his mind against me. He used to be so in love with me, but he hates me now. Wow, Sahiba, wow. You've hit several birds with one stone. You became the heroine in my story and made me a villain. Whereas you're acting to be so good and righteous in front of me, while preparing for my wedding, you were wishing that you get to be the daughter-in-law of some rich family. Speak up. You wished for it, didn't you? You were jealous of me since childhood. Always. You always wanted to get everything I got. You've always hated me since childhood and far beyond that, Sahiba. No wonder you stabbed me the very first chance you got. You've betrayed me, Sahiba. You're such a